Hi, Bill. My husband's French, and I know him. You might see him on the stage. He's not there now. Someplace in here.
7 o'clock, folks. For those of you that have not got a seat, there are empty seats and there are seats that we can set up. I'm sure you probably all wonder why this is set up, and it's to help ease any concerns that people may have with what we all know is going on out there in the outside world. And with that said, I've had a lot of discussions between yesterday and today with Secretary of State's office, AG's office, and they strongly recommended to every town in New Hampshire to continue and hold your town meeting. And the biggest reason is, good example, if we say, if the body here wants to make a motion and do it the way it has to be done and overrule what I've done or what I do, they have the right to do that on any article. But on this, it's when would you postpone it to? Because until the state of New Hampshire goes into emergency status, we don't have any grounding to do that. And that could change tomorrow. That we could be in emergency status tomorrow. Just so you know. But anyway, if everybody's good, I'm going to call the meeting to order for this year's town meeting deliberative portion. As you all know, the town meeting started officially last Tuesday. We had a verificated meeting, and we are continuing the town meeting tonight. And at the end of the meeting, I will ask for someone to make a motion in a second that we dissolve, not just adjourn. Okay, so with that, I guess I'd like to, before you start making comments, let me just open the meeting officially. And what I'd like to do first is a little bit of tradition that most of you probably know. The first order of business is I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance and then one verse of God Bless America. All good? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night. Breathe the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with hope. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Okay, thank you very much. Billy. Yeah, I didn't do that. Jerry, I'm too occupied with everything to worry about later right now. But I probably would at some point. And I have my old glasses on. That's my good ones at home, so if I miss something in the reading, please. Okay, I'd like to make a few short statements on what I govern over and above what the RSAs that I really try to follow 100%, but just a few simple rules for me is every article has to be moved and seconded before we can have any discussion. I hope you all know that. So that before you start, the article has to be moved and seconded and get on for discussion before you actually say anything. So that's, I know most of you or all of you probably know that. I just wanted to remind you. And it's important to address your questions and comments to the moderator and have him recognize you. And when that happens, I need you, we've got a small crowd tonight, but because of minutes that have to be done and have to be done correctly, in order for the clerk to record and get things right, people have to be loud, which we have sound system set up for anybody that feels they want to. If they can't be loud, we need you to be loud, legible. We need you to stand and announce your name so she can hear that. That's as critical as getting what you said in recording. If there's any question about that, I will not recognize someone that hasn't done that. And if I don't recognize you and you start standing, there is an individual who will help me out on that. And he's got a gun in the bag. And the same goes behind you too, so. All articles must be dealt with. There is no such thing as tabling an article or bypassing or passing over an article. Every article has to be dealt with. Up or down, we vote on every article. Old days, a lot of the words were, let's pass over this article, let's table this article. None of that is allowed anymore, and I won't accept it. And as you all know, in the past, it's a little confusing. Article 3, the operating budget. I'm going to take the budget, I'm going to basically take the line item categories as written in pages 25, 26, and 27 of the operating budget, in line as the way it's printed in your town reports. If you don't have any, we have a big box up there in the hall. And I will take any discussion on each category. We'll have discussion, and we'll move to the next category. And if someone feels that they want to make an amendment to that category line item, they can do that now, and I'll accept it, whether it goes up or whether it goes down. However, at the end of that whole continued warrant on the operating budget, we will vote on a bottom line. If it's amended up or amended down, at that time, we will vote on a bottom line. And your amendment is really an advisement to the selectmen, because by statute, the selectmen have the authority, even if somebody amends an article to cut $100,000, to move whatever they need to move in any line item to basically keep the town floating and running smoothly. So it has no teeth. But if you want to do it, it makes you feel good, we'll do it. Just know that it's only going to be advisory, okay? The only other comment I'd like to make is, again, I mentioned we've had a lot of discussions in the last couple of days. There's been a lot of recommendations that the state is not under an emergency situation right now with the COVID-19. That could change in 24 hours or 12 hours. But there's a lot of recommendations they've made. You've noticed we've done some things differently tonight. We want to make sure that everyone that votes is a legal registered voter. So you all got, anybody that was on the voter list that can vote has a little pink card. And what I would ask is, when I call for a vote, if it's a voice vote or a show of hand votes, either way, vote your cards. If a petition comes forward for a secret ballot, the only way you're going to get your yes or no ballot to be passed in and put in the ballot box is you're going to show this card. If you don't have it, you don't have the right color, you're not going to get a ballot. Simple as that. Okay? And on that subject, I'd just like to say that, again, the state recommended that we spread out chairs as much as possible. We provide hand sanitizers for anybody that hasn't got their own or done it. We hope that everybody has used common sense. If you don't want to shake hands or you don't want to sit close to your neighbor, we're trying to accommodate anyone that has concerns and fears of that. The other thing that is a recommendation, and this is the way it's going to go, you have the authority to have a majority vote on a motion to overrule my rulings on those. By all means do so, but when it comes to if an article, whether it be the new ordinances that we have, whether it be the operating budget, whether it be any article in there, if five written requests from registered voters present has to petition for that. If that comes to fruition, we will have a secret ballot, but we will not have a secret ballot. I will not carry a call for the vote until an good opportunity, without too much delay, of discussion first. And what the state is saying is, hopefully, that will maybe relieve what anybody may want to do on a secret ballot for the purpose of not having people have to line up and come up here, go through the line, get their ballot, put the ballot in the ballot box, and move on. That's, again, it's just a safety thing, and it's trying to quell any concerns as much as we can. They adamantly recommended that meetings do not get postponed, delayed, or whatever across the state. So, just want to clarify, that's all I have to say. And with that, what I'd like to do is ask for a motion to dispense with the reading of the warrant entirely, because I'm going to read each article as we take them, and we'll get started.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. There you go. I didn't mention that, but just hold them up, and same thing on a hand vote. It's just, again, some people may not agree with it, but it's something that we've decided to do. So, and that again is recommended as to how you do it, especially with a secret ballot. You don't have the card, you don't get the ballot, so we don't get any illegal votes. Okay, we'll start. I will give you the results of your voting at day 1 of town meeting, Tuesday. Selectmen, John Allen, 173, James Gleason, 83. I declare John Allen the winner, and I declare him elected. The Selectman one-year position, unopposed, Dick Bennett received 200 votes, and I declare him elected. Trustee of Trust Funds was uncontested. Dan Andrews received 234 votes. I declare him elected. Library Trustees, Linda Terry received 231 votes, and I declare her elected. Cemeteries Trustees, Barbara Terrio, 247 votes. I declare her elected. Supervisors of the checklist, Kevin Donahoe, 230 votes. I declare him elected. Treasurer, Kathy Doherty, 236 votes. I declare her elected. Town Clerk Tax Collector, Karen Burton, 248 votes. I declare her elected. Moderator, Bill Kelly, 237 votes. My assistant moderator has declared I'm elected, I think.
I do so.
School board, for your school side, 3-year school board, Jen Anzaldi, 241 votes. I declare her elected. School board, 3-year term, boy, I probably won't pronounce this right, but Micah. Okay, I told you I wouldn't say it right. Micah Bernhardt, 197 votes. I declare her elected. School board 1 year, Keith Bradley, 222 votes. I declare him elected. School treasurer, Christine Thompson. I declare her elected. 239 votes, excuse me. And school moderator, Sasha Tracy, 222 votes. I declare her elected. And last, school clerk, Gino Funicello, was a write-in with 54 votes. I declare him elected. And I would ask at this time, if any of those people are in the room, if you can, come up to one of us tonight, later, or after the meeting, and you get sworn in so that you can start doing any official duties as of tomorrow. Okay? Thank you. All right, moving right along. Article 3, the operating budget. Oh, excuse me, Article 2, yep. Results. Sorry about that. The Article 2 was the zoning amendment ordinance. The yeas had 191, the nays had 71. I declare that article passed. Okay, Article 3, the operating budget. And I will take a, well, I'm going to read it, I'll take a motion in a second, and I'm going to see if the selectmen have anything they want to add for information prior to discussions. Okay, so Article 3, operating budget. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the selectmen's recommended operating budget of the town in the amount of $2,307,372, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 3-0.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Okay. We will have discussion by item again before I do anything. The selectmen, do they want to advise of anything that affects on this, or are you all good? Or? Okay, they're fine. There's a tremendous amount of information in your town reports, so if you have questions on a certain thing, there may be info in here that will help you. Operating budget, the first category is the selectmen, and the proposed budget is $28,248. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll move to the office of town clerk. The proposed is $77,735. Is there any questions or discussion on that line? Seeing none, we'll move on. Financial administration. Proposed is $142,369. Any discussion, questions, comments?
Sarah Clemens.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'm just want to again speak up to the 3% raise of our town's workers every year. We're giving it without any oversight in the fact that we're not having any, it's just an over-the-board raise, and I think that that's inappropriate.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments on this line item? Seeing none. Assessing. Proposed is $40,000. Any comments? Questions? Okay. Next line item is legal. Proposed is $25,000. All questions? Good. All right. I'll move on. Personnel administration. Proposed is $389,322.
Sarah Clemens. I would like to just point out that in our school system, when it comes to health insurance, our teachers pay 20% of their total cost of insurance. And in the town of Jackson, the town employees pay 3%. So I'd just like to point out that if you have a single insurance at $9,243, you're paying a total of $277 a year, and 18,000 it's $554, and at 24,000 it's $748. So our basic insurance cost to the employees less than $1,000. And again, as I say, I've checked through, and at the school S89 they pay 20%.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, anything else on that? Or on that line item?
Jerry Doherty. Sarah said that town employees only contribute 3% for health insurance. Is that correct? I thought they contributed 15% to the cost.
They did over time when the Cadillac tax came into play. There were adjustments made to give the employees incentive to move to the more deductible plans. So every year it changes year to year.
So the employees of the town are currently only contributing 3% to their health insurance policies.
Correct.
I would encourage the selectmen to look into that and see what the standard practice is for most employees in the country, because 3%'s low. I think most employees pay for contributions to their health care plans.
Okay. Any other comments? I will recognize, but I was hoping I would give everybody a chance to comment before too, but go ahead, nobody's
Okay.
jumping up.
Sarah Clemens, one of the things I'd like to point out, as Jerry said, he thought it was 15%. I would like to know, and maybe this is the inappropriate time, but I'll put the question to the selectmen, and they could answer it possibly, if not tonight, they could answer it at a selectmen's meeting. When do these policies change? I mean, I attend a lot of meetings, and never once have I seen the selectmen bring up, we're changing this from 15% to 3%. How is a person supposed to know when these changes are made? Another, for instance, is we now pay employees who do not take our insurance. We give them an amount of money for not taking our insurance when they have coverage through another person. Again, when was this change made? How was it made? I go to the meetings. I'd love to see all these people here tonight at meetings. I understand you can't. It's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But again, I've got some history here over 50 years, and I do not know when these changes were made, and I really think that it's time our selectmen at least gave us the information as to how the townspeople are supposed to keep track of it. Our personnel file, you may see it if you go into the town office to check it out. You sit at the administrator's desk and you go through that. I feel that maybe it's time our personnel policy went online so you can see what our benefits are to our employees. And along with that, I would like to point out that, just a minute, find the paperwork. I feel we're more than fair to our employees with time off and PTO time. And again, I'd like to have you bear with me for a minute. I'll bring it up at another point, but I'd just like to say that we are very generous, and if you work here for 20 years, you get 5 weeks off. Excuse me, 5 weeks, you get 5 weeks off, and maybe you could correct me, Julie Atwell, and tell me, or the selectmen could tell people what we are giving for PTO time to our employees. I think it's 5 weeks, the first 1 through 3, and then it goes continually up every week.
Sarah?
Sarah, I'm going to cut you off only because Barbara's going to make a short comment, but that is under their policy stuff.
Yeah, you and I did have a discussion about these costs and how I actually asked you what you would suggest doing, and I am doing a study, like you suggested, Jerry, to some other comparable towns and municipalities, as well as companies, to see what trends are. Not ready to present anything. The other thing, Sarah, is what you're talking about are policies right now, which is on the topic of budget, so we will cut that in if we want to bring it up at a selectmen's meeting in the future. I think that's a fair time to do that.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions of the difference on the... No? Okay. All right, planning board and zoning board. Proposed is $5,500. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? Okay, moving on. General government, parks and buildings, $32,000 proposed. Are there any questions, discussion, comments? Okay. Cemeteries, proposed $11,000. Any discussions at all? No? Oh, sorry, Ann. Okay, good. Moving along. Okay, insurance, $73,606. Any other comments that anybody else might? Okay. Moving on, page 27. Building inspection, proposed is $46,211. Any discussion, questions? Okay. Next item is police. Proposed is $315,526. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Seeing none? Ambulance. Proposed is $13,740. Any comments, discussion?
Can I just ask,
And I know it's redundant, but just make sure you stand up and have her so she can hear you.
why the big decrease?
Most of the stuff that was for our recent, we bought a second ambulance, so that funds had been finished to build that ambulance, and, you know.
Oh, that's strictly for the ambulance itself, not for the...
Yeah, and I would add a comment to that is, we've had a bargain on ambulance services from 1981 to present. If we had to contract hire an outside agency, you'd probably today in the $400,000 range to be able to get that service. So it's a bargain, just so that everybody, it really is expensive to provide emergency medical services out there today. All right, moving right along. Fire. Proposed is $175,039. Any questions, comments, discussion? Moving right along. Next item is emergency management, $5,341. Any questions? Discussion?
Sarah Clements, possibly the gentleman that runs this is here, and maybe he would like to speak to what's going on. He's here.
Do you have a comment or a question that you need to make? Sarah? Direct to me. Do you have a specific question or just in general?
Just in general, I just said thank you, that's all.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, no, it's very, a tremendous amount of that pays for, I believe, still radio communications, for ambulance and fire, and sometimes even the police have to use it when they're in dead spots. So that's a lot of it. Sarah,
It wasn't about the amount of money, it was just about the situation.
I understand, thank you. I was trying to get your attention, but you turned to Tom, which is fine, but please
Say
direct
thank
it to me. And let me recognize him so we keep a reasonable order. It's relatively simple. All right, next item is highway administration. Proposed is $212,297. Any discussion, questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll move along. We are going to highway department operations, $384,978. Any questions, comments, discussion? I just say compared to last winter, we've had a pretty easy snow winter, but it hasn't relieved any work because it still takes some more work. We're not over yet, even though we're in this kind of weather. Okay, next page, 28. Moving along, out of the operating budget, that is continued from highway, so the next line item would be street lighting of $9,000. Any comments, questions? Okay. Solid waste disposal, $121,000. Any discussion? Good. Okay. Animal control, $1,350. Questions, comments? Good. Public welfare, $6,000. Any comments, discussion, questions? Okay. The next column would be the library, $112,210. Any discussion? Okay, other conservation, $1,500. Any questions, comments? Other culture and recreation, $3,500. Any comment, question? No? Okay. Next one is parks and recreation, $6,700. Questions, comment? Okay. Next item is debt service, $68,200. Question or comments? Seeing none. Next item is the total operating budget for the town of Jackson, and the total bottom line proposed is $2,307,000. Excuse me, $2,307,372. Any final comment on the overall amount budget? That's what we'll be voting on. This is the time. We're going to vote on it. I'm going to call the vote. I'll do it with a voice vote at first. Just hold your cards up just to pacify us. All those in favor of $2,307,372 for the operating budget of the town signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. All right. The next line item is, this is just that, so we're doing it all. Okay. They're all listed. It is the agents to expend capital reserve funds, $311,377. Oops, it's actual. You don't have to propose that.
Are you looking at the bottom of page 28?
Yeah.
That's just information, you can skip over to article.
Oh, okay, so that's what I was kind of looking for to begin with. Sorry for the confusion. I was focusing on that. So we'll actually take Article 4 as the appropriations to capital reserve funds. And it's a total appropriation, but it's broken down, and we're happy to take comments on it as follows. Number one is fire department truck capital reserve, $80,000.
Yeah. So we move it and second it?
No, excuse me. Yeah, we didn't do that. I skipped over it when I lost what was going on there. Threw me all off when I saw no figure in the proposed. Yes, excuse me. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Appropriations to capital reserve funds is $258,500 for this year.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions, comments? Jerry?
The question I have is on the agents to expend.
Yes.
Prior to the law changing many years back, when the town was going to buy a piece of capital equipment, road, vehicle, whatever, the town voted on whether or not to do it. Now we vote on whether or not to do it when we approve the capital reserve funds. Because when the funds are there to do it, the selectmen decide to do it with no discussion to the townspeople. And I thought it was more appropriate when either the fire chief or the highway road agent or the selectmen would have to sell us on the idea of buying whatever equipment they thought to buy. Now with the selectmen being the agents to expend, we don't really, other than putting into the capital reserve fund, we don't really have a choice or a vote in that decision. And I would just like to go back to the time when the selectmen would explain to us why they were buying what they were buying, when they were buying it.
I hear your comment. I'd let the selectman answer. I was just confirming with John, but going back to when the actual capital reserve was just a capital reserve, and law changed to allow them to become agents to expend, that original capital reserve expendable trust article would have been, had to have been voted to establish. And the law, once that's established, it's an ongoing fund unless it, for whatever reason, somebody wanted to look into how and proceed to maybe dispose of that. That's how they do this now. But originally, whatever year, we can probably get that answer, each of those lines, fire department, road reconstruction, highway, and so on, were originally spelled out on the original vote to authorize the selectmen as agents to expend.
I understand.
So that's just a clarification. It wasn't just something that they did, but that's what allowed them to make decisions without having to go through that vote. I'm not defending or speaking for or against. I'm just trying to help explain to those that may not be aware of how that fund was created. So does anybody have any comments or questions, or?
I agree with you that it is a big responsibility that isn't presented to the town at town meetings. And I'll give you a really perfect example. We're buying a new highway vehicle this year, and Pat Kelly, the highway agent, or head of the highway department, did some unbelievable research, presented some quotes to the selectmen, and I took it upon myself to get some education on those quotes and get comparable quotes, talk to the manufacturers and the dealers that quoted those, and feel like we need to definitely do our due diligence to make sure that we're spending the money correctly and properly at the right time and on the right equipment for what our town requires. So I guess I would say if this is the case, and that's the way it is now, that the town, that the selectmen are making the decisions, the town members should be coming to the meetings to know that we're preparing to spend that money, and ask for what information you want to make you feel comfortable that we're going to expend those funds. Even though it's up to us, you still need the information presented to you of where your tax dollars are going. So I got quite an education from the information and the detail that Pat did, and feel very comfortable endorsing what he recommended to the town. I don't know if that gives you a better comfort feeling or anything like that, and I would be interested to know when it did change, but I think it's our responsibility to know that we're spending the money and the taxpayers' money appropriately and timely.
Any other questions, comments?
Jerry Darby, just to understand how this works logistically, unlike the operating budget, when if we vote to amend that up or down, that's more guidance to the selectmen than requirement. When we vote on the sum total of these, if, for instance, if we wanted to amend one of these up or down, it would apply specifically to that capital reserve fund, correct?
Yeah, I tried to get clarification, and I got two different.
I'm assuming it would have to do, because when we create those capital reserve funds, those funds have to be spent specifically for what that fund's created for. So if we wanted to, and I don't want to, I'm just saying, so people understand, when we vote this, you can amend one of the capital reserve funds up or down, and they would be required to not put money into that or put more money into that as the legislative body would decide.
They can comment on that, but I did a little research because I thought to be in favor or against it. Just my concern as moderator to the Secretary of State's office was, like the operating budget, is this have to be amended as a total, and then it's their discretion as to where they add or subtract should an amendment be generated. And they said, basically, I got two different responses from two different people as to what. One said they are governed to follow because of the fact each, and Peter may want to comment on this.
I'll break the tie. I'd agree with Jerry. If the legislative body wants to amend a capital reserve amount, then it would apply to that capital reserve fund. And the selectmen would not have the authority, like they do with the operating budget, to transfer money back and forth between different capital reserve funds, because these are savings accounts basically for a particular purpose.
And I got the same response from that.
Yeah, and that was, I felt very comfortable with that response that I received
And
I was a little iffy when someone else called me back and said,
I would be comfortable with that response too. I would say though, if it isn't the case where they can amend the budget the way they want to, the capital reserve funds, then we should split these up on our warrant.
I agree.
So that we can vote on each one individually. I know we
that
can
was
do.
my concern, that was I doing it right or wrong?
So if it is the case where we can't decide which ones go up or down, we should, on the warrant, split them into individual warrant articles again. But I'm comfortable with the response thinking that, and it's all good intentions, the less of a problem, it wouldn't be a problem. So I'm assuming if somebody wanted to amend one of these up or down, the selectmen would follow that.
And going to that effect, if there's any specific question from the audience on the items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the line of how they're presented to you under the Article 4, feel free to, if you have a question on one specific, now's the time to maybe address and give the selectmen your thoughts on them actually doing that expenditure. But again, that should really go to a selectmen's meeting and have a specific request to do it. But go ahead, Sarah Clemens.
Thank you. What I would like to know is if it's possible to, in following years, to put in the amount that we have in each fund at the present time, just to give us
It's in here.
It is?
Fund balances.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
thank you,
that.
sorry.
Like that.
Instant answer. Had my thumb on.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
They do listen. Okay, excuse me. Yes, sir.
I'm new to this, so
Need your name, sir?
my name's Jay Keenan. I imagine that there was some target amount for these capitalizations at one point. Is that true?
When it comes to the vehicles that the town owns and operates, there's ongoing, it gets updated, but there is a target year specific to each vehicle, whether it be a highway truck, a fire truck, or a police cruiser, or whatever. And that's pretty much, I believe.
Page 37.
It's broken,
Okay.
I believe it's broken down. There is, and the same thing when you're talking about like road construction, the road agent has a plan that isn't just, well, I don't know what road I'm gonna do, just give me the money.
Page 37, thank you.
Okay? Any other questions on this? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So voted. Okay, pretty much a similar issue right here. Article 5, appropriations to expendable trust funds. Again, it's broken down to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $104,000 to be placed in the following expendable trust funds previously established. And 1 through 7, transfer station, state aid reconstruction, bridge repair, dry hydrants, police department, fire department, Loom Road groundwater testing, town office equipment. So moved. Second. Moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So voted. Okay, one more to page 30. Okay. Article 6, social services. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,643 to support the following list. Children Unlimited, $4,000, Tri-County Action, $3,000, Tri-County Community Action, $420, Jackson Chamber of Commerce, $3,000, the Gibson Center, $3,000, White Mountain Community Health, $1,310, Starting Point, $2197, Conway Area Humane, $2,000, Jackson Chamber of Commerce, $1,000, Northern Human Services, $716.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, is there any discussion on any one of those 10 theoretical line items? And again, that money, each line, the total amount, if unless amended, would be the amount that they would divide that up. Everybody's good? Yes.
If I have permission to speak, because I'm not a resident?
Excuse me?
I'm not a resident.
And is there a specific reason?
I'm only here on behalf of Troy County CAP.
Okay, all right. Can you state your name, please, for the...
Miles. I am the office manager for the Division of Energy.
I guess I would, if there's a specific reason, but if anybody has any...
No questions, I'll...
There's no questions,
Okay.
Okay, thank you, but thank you for coming. Sometimes we don't have people to represent all these, and it can be kind of tough to answer a question that we, shouldn't be answering. So, any other questions on any other both line items? Comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the social service articles, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So voted. Okay. Article 7. Trusses, Valley Crossroad Bridge. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $45,000 for the purpose of refurbishing the trusses on the Valley Crossroad Bridge, recommended by Selectmen 2, 0, and 1.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Questions, comments? I'm just going to give it. She's ready to go. Okay. Sarah, go ahead. Sarah, go ahead. Go ahead. You're up.
All right, what I would like to say is, they have a picture in the book on what the bridge would look like without the trusses. And also, just to let people know that they are going to rebuild the bridge, is my understanding, with the appropriate placement, so that if we want to put the trusses in, they can go in. Does it have to be next year? I don't know that it does, but that's a question maybe you could answer. But the bridge will be built so that if in the future we want to put the trusses back up, we can.
I don't think so.
We can?
I think if we vote for this money, then the design will include the proper connections for those trusses. If we don't vote for the money, they're not going to include those connections.
Because the demolition has to preserve the trusses as well.
I misunderstood the selectmen's...
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain on that. I don't think it's going to be left there for future trusses if you decide to do it in the future.
I just thought at the selectmen's meeting you stated that...
It's a one-time,
one-time
either
shot.
go for it or don't go for it.
So it's clarified that if
You want to
the
save
majority of the people
$500,000.
want to save the trusses and have them added, you vote. You have to vote now, or it's that deal. Jerry?
Beauty is an eye of the beholder, obviously, but the rendition that they did on the bridge without the trusses was quite attractive. And when many of us were upset when we saw our assessments go up and our taxes go up, $45,000 is a pretty big chunk of money. When this town is up to argue about $300 or $400, it seems to me that it's extravagant to put those trusses back just out of tradition or nostalgia. But I think we'd do well to save the money and not put them back.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on that? Yes.
Yeah, my name is Kevin Hudahoe, and I know this is maybe a question of what people like to look at or not, but I don't think the trusses are that attractive. And I think $45,000 is an awful lot of money to spend for something that has, well, for me, questionable visual value. So I'd like to just mention that.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I was just giving she's getting plenty of equal time. Sir? Yes, sir.
Bill Terry, I'm not sure everybody looks at all the book pages in the book, but there's one page that has a picture of the bridge without the trusses. So you can take a look and see whether or not you like it. It's right at the very end. Just the page inside the cover.
Point of interest, there is a picture inside the back cover. So if you want to look at it, that's fine. But- Okay, any other comments from anyone? Yes.
Bob Thompson, 9 Cameron Drive. I'd like to hear from the select board member that abstained and chose not to vote either for or against, and what the logic was.
That was me. My thought on that was the cost was kind of prohibitive. I didn't want to vote against it because I didn't want to seem like it was going to be, my vote would, influence anybody. But I do have a thought. I know when I was a younger lad, those trusses could have been a potential hazard for people walking on them. So that is not the best decision. I have done that. And I think that liability-wise, it may be a problem for the town, especially the one that's on the Eagle Mountain House side, which wouldn't have a landing area other than the water. But that is going to be very close to the water's edge there. That was kind of my concern about that. I didn't want to bring it up until town meeting, but I didn't want to influence anybody's decisions. But having been a very stupid young person when I was younger, it's not a very good idea.
That's all I have to ride a bike.
I tag that comment as someone that grew up here. There was a lot of people that were young, stupid kids that walked the trusses, but also the penstock that was the power from the old hand. So that was very hazardous too. That's anyway. Yes, Sarah,
It's my understanding there still will be a walkway from one side to the other, with or without the trusses.
Yes, the walkway is actually going to have a kick out, so in the middle it's a little wider for an observation area or a place to take pictures. I was out there one summer day and there was a wedding. They went up there, they took pictures of the wedding party.
Dixon, all those pictures.
Photobomb.
Okay. Any other comments? Because I'm going to this one. We'll move on. Anybody else have anybody that hasn't spoken? Anything? Question, comment? If not, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Nay. The article is defeated. Article 8. Article 8, Fire Station Feasibility Study. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 for the purpose of conducting a feasibility study for the fire station. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 300.
So moved. Seconded.
And moved and seconded. Is there any questions, discussion, comments? I'm not ignoring you. Yes.
Sarah Clemens, I'm also concerned about doing this year, especially with what is happening in our climate today with our situation due to the coronavirus. But also, too, it's not something that has to be done in this year. It's something that could be done another year. And I'd also like to point out to the people that weren't at the school meeting that we're already paid out $15,000 for a feasible study for our school campus. So if you add on another 25, that's $40,000 that we're putting out just to have studies. And again, I will point out that the selectmen and I had a discussion, and I have a paper that they gave me on my tax bill, about my tax bill. And from 2011 until 2019, my taxes have gone up close to 40%.
Sarah?
That information is in your town report, Sarah, on the tax.
Right, but I'm saying personally, I don't mind saying it personally. I think I should be able to here. But 11% in that amount of time, it's really something to me. And I think that this is something that possibly, due to the circumstances of our country and our town and so on and so forth, that this study could be done at a later time.
Okay. Is there any other comments, questions, or discussions? Gary?
I would recommend that we do this study. Our fire station is in need of work as it is, and in many cases is substandard to many codes. Without this study, the selectmen are flying blind. They have no idea as to what should be done or how it should be done. This study saves the town money, and I recommend that the townspeople support it.
Will Reisig, in light of these two previous comments, I would like to put to the Board of Selectmen what exactly this study will examine. If it will examine the optimal location for the fire station, or what kind of equipment it will be utilizing, or what other facets of the plan will be examined in this study.
Okay, I believe that the selectmen will defer that to get the accurate information from someone from the committee that has been working and will be working on it, if that's okay. Maybe through them, that could be answered, I believe. Peter Benson is...
Peter Benson. Good question. So this is a feasibility study that will accomplish a few things. It will help us plan for the future, and just so it's not we're not advocating for anything. We're just looking at the range of options. So as Jerry said, we know the existing facility is substandard in some ways. So the consultant that we will hopefully hire will help us to determine a range of options, from some modest renovations to moderate renovations to what would a new facility look like. Without getting those answers, we can't really move forward. It's not about the equipment in the building, it's about the building itself. For example, one of the most glaring discrepancies, the deficiencies now, if you will, is we have roughly $2 million of equipment in there in an unsprinkled building. You don't really do that anymore. But when the first building was built in 1947, we really didn't have that option. We were really talking about 4 buildings that we've, in some cases, literally glued together. And so this study will simply just help us determine what the options are for the townspeople in ensuing years to be able to vote on, whether it's a modification, whether it's a renovation, whether we go with we can go with a full rebuild. So that's what it will hopefully accomplish.
And location would be part of that.
Location will be part of that, too. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Andrew Howe, I would say that given the deficiencies in the building and the necessity to modify equipment to fit the building, is what I learned a few weeks ago, I think it's well spent. The other point is that in the world of professional consultants and engineers, costs never go down for future years. So it's only going to get more expensive.
I can comment on that, and not that I like to look to our neighbors just a little bit to the south, but when they started talking about a new fire station in the precinct of North Conway, they were a $5 million target. I believe they're in the $6.7 million in 3 years, the increases. So it's, for that comment, yes, if there is something that has to be done, you can delay it till forever, but your costs will go up year by year. And I guess the question would be, do you pay now, do you pay later, or whatever? I know that's been something that's been thrown out there many times for many different things that we spend for the town. So that said, is there any other people that like to comment? Excuse me.
Just go ahead.
No? Yeah, go ahead.
A quick comment too. When we started talking to one architect in the state, they did quote at a certain dollar amount for a new building, and then since then we've negotiated that down to include a new building or a renovation. So they will be doing a full scope. If we were to hire them, they would be doing a full scope feasibility study, not just on a new fire station, which I think is important because, like Peter said, we need to know what the whole picture is, whether we renovate, improve, or build a new building. So that's a nice thing to know, that it would be all-inclusive. I also have gotten some recommendations and solicitations from residents of Jackson that have architectural background that they would like to be a part of this with their services donated. So I feel like if this were to pass, we could either save costs or get a lot of good input without spending any more money than this at all. Hopefully not as much money.
Bill, Jerry Doherty again. Also included in the feasibility study is multiple public hearings. So it's not going to be consultants only to the group that's, the committee that's looking at the feasibility study. It's going to include the whole town and very engaging to get the input from the whole town.
Dick?
Also for, excuse me. For our planning, it gives us an idea of what money we should put into this old building. If we're going to renovate it, we're not going to do some of the things that need to be done, say, more immediately. It just helps us with planning, because we're not going to spend $10,000 on some small remodels or renovations if we're going to do a $100,000 remodel. So it really is it's a planning tool for us, and it will actually, I think, show us where to spend the money.
I could just make a comment on that. The architectural firm that we did get proposals from and visited us, it is a cost, and architecturals are very expensive, so if we can get some donated opinions and help, that would be great. I do say this, that particular firm has been in business for 35 years. They've done a tremendous amount of public safety, fire stations, police stations. They're on their second contract with the state of New Hampshire Marine Division. They did the Glen House. They're doing the North Conway Station. So they really wanted to get Jackson. They very much wanted this thing. That's one of the reasons why it's being read, because it's fortunately our little town here is very well known a lot of places, and to have that on your referral proposals as an architectural firm in New Hampshire from Holderness, they did a pretty good sell job, but it's a cost. Just a comment on that. So the committee hasn't just gone helter-skelter here. They've really put a lot of work into it. They can't really do a whole lot of anything else without getting spent. All right, with that, if there's no other comments, just wanted to add my 2 cents right there. Anybody else that hasn't spoken for or against or whatever? Questions, comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So voted. Okay, Valley Vision. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for the purpose of viewing at all Valley Vision broadcasts, recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
So moved. Seconded.
And moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, questions, comments?
Judge is ready.
No, Jackson, yeah. We made the move then. BJ members.
Is there any chance, Bill Terry, is there any chance that this is actually going to happen this year?
No, we had a problem with with getting the contract from Spectrum, and this is the same, we spent the $5,000 last year, obviously, but didn't follow through with their deal, so there's no good re-up the opportunity to do this again. Hopefully it'll be, something will come through. But, yeah. Disappointing.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So voted. Okay, Article 10. And before we go crazy, I just want to comment, this has been very well discussed for quite a bit at budget meetings and around, so hopefully that answered a lot of the questions, but we're going to take them one at a time, and hopefully we can get right through it, satisfy everybody's questions and or comments. Noise ordinance. To see if the town will vote to adopt an ordinance to regulate and prohibit unnecessary noises within the town of Jackson, This ordinance defines unnecessary noise as an excessive, unnecessary, or unusually loud noise which is prolonged, unusual, and unnatural in its time, place, and use in effect, and in a detriment to the public health, comfort, convenience, safety, welfare, and prosperity of the residents and visitors of the town. This prohibition shall include, but is not limited to, any such loud, unnecessary, or unusual noises made during the hours of 10:30 p.m. to 6 a.m., 7 days a week. The ordinance also contains several exemptions from the definition of unnecessary noise and several examples of prohibited noise. A full text of the ordinance is available at the town clerk's office. Recommended by the selectmen 300.
So moved.
And moved and seconded. Is there any questions or discussion?
Well, before we go to work.
The next question, whether this ordinance would hold up in the court of law, because it mentions no way of measuring it. It's all speculative as to what we hear, what the next person is hear. If you don't have a specified way of measuring it, setting limits, will it even hold up if somebody challenges this in the court of law?
It's a little low. Does everybody understand? His comment is that, will this ordinance stand up in a court of law if it has to be enforced? And I guess I would, again, I don't want to answer that. Chief Purley has done a lot of research.
That's an excellent question. The definition of unreasonable noise, or the standard that would be used to present in court, and is included in the information in the ordinance, it says all noise and noise complaints will be evaluated under the reasonable and prudent standards for the conditions that exist then and there, unless specifically prohibited by definition. So what that means is if there's a sound that's strictly prohibited, like, I don't know, whatever, squeezing a goose and making it home. You don't have to, there's no reasonable standard, but this standard, the reasonable and prudent standard, is the same standard used in court for offenses of disorderly conduct. Now, as far as being tested and constitutionally valid, this is, I'm not going to say a carbon copy, because Londonderry, New Hampshire's noise ordinance is far more specific and longer and more involved. But this is kind of Londonderry light, if you will. I've spoken with Bill Hart, who's the chief of police in Londonderry. He's also a bar-admitted attorney. He also is used to be the Rockingham County attorney. He said that they have had no constitutional or successful challenges to the construct or the content of the statutory language, and they've been successful in every prosecution they've had under this ordinance, if that gives you any comfort.
Thank you.
Is there any?
I'm just curious what prompted this ordinance, or this proposal.
Go ahead, Chief.
A year and a half ago, the select board asked myself and Julie Atwell to review the town ordinances that we had to see if they were effective, if they were correct, proper, still relevant, and then to add any or suggest any that we have had complaints, areas of complaints that we don't have any ordinances. So that's what we did. One interesting fact is everybody in town thought we had a town ordinance on noise. We never had a town ordinance on noise. There was a general belief that there was, and there was a photocopy of the disorderly conduct statute stuck into the ordinance book. As far as the hierarchy of authority, you can't replace a state statute with a town ordinance. So there really was, we had no town ordinance for noise. There was only the state law. And the ordinance packet, the suite of ordinances, were all based on specific complaints of conduct we've gotten over the last, well, since I've been chief, over the last 3 years, that we didn't have areas of effective enforcement other than falling back to criminal statutes, which, in my opinion, become very heavy-handed. It's either, you know, a gentle word of caution or you're dragging them off to jail. There was no middle ground. That's why towns can have ordinances, so they can regulate behavior, conduct, safety, without resorting just to criminal statutes that result in arrest and criminal prosecution in district court. These still get prosecuted, fine revenues come to the town rather than go to the general fund of the state, and they're a little more custom crafted for the needs of the community. So that's why the suite of ordinances is coming through. There wasn't a crime wave, it was just gaps that we were asked to look into and suggest, and vetted through the various processes we've had.
Thank you.
Ken Kimball, this is just a question for clarification, but on line 4, it says, is a detriment to the public health, comfort, convenience, safety, welfare, and prosperity. Is the intention that it has to meet all of those criteria or just one of those?
You said line 4, but the lines aren't enumerated.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just on, it's the last, it's the and on the end of line 4.
Which section?
Article 10.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the actual ordinance. I'm sorry.
Article 10, line 4, it lists several different...
That's just a summary?
Areas.
Because legally, this means it has to meet all of those criteria before you can do anything.
Again, I will defer to...
I'm not sure that's what the actual intention is, but that's what
Does it have to meet all of those conditions, or can it meet just any one of those conditions?
As written, it is.
As written. Well, again...
I just want to look at the language of the statute, not the book or the ordinance. We can't amend any of the ordinances. I've talked with Attorney Maglio. We can't amend any of the ordinances. They're up or down votes. So I would say if the language suggests or a legal challenge shows that we have to meet all of the burdens, then we meet all the burdens, or we try to meet all the burdens. So that would be my answer.
Does the actual ordinance also use the word and?
It uses the same language. It uses welfare and prosperity, and it uses commas between health, comfort, convenience, safety, and then welfare. So public health, comma, comfort, comma, convenience, comma, safety, comma, welfare, and prosperity of the residents.
The intent is definitely or, not and. The intent. And the word and should be or.
Yes.
We can agree. Probably the selectmen can amend that word at their next meeting. Housekeeping.
Housekeeping? It would not change the body overall. It's basically adding a clarification word. So I would suggest that if it had to be an amendment, it would carry, it would be seen approved by the DRI.
I didn't know whether I could make
That's my thought.
DRA wouldn't care.
They don't care, right. Either or, and they're gonna...
I think he wants to make it.
Okay. If you want to entertain a motion to change the word and.
I will make a motion.
I would entertain, I'd accept that motion if it's a second and pass. Does everybody understand? Kimball would like to amend this article as written to include the word or in line 4 of the ordinance as written on the ballot, on the warrant, correct?
Correct.
Does everybody understand what it's doing? It's just verifying what we believe is that they can do, but is there a second to that motion?
Second. I would second it.
Okay, is there any discussion or question on the amendment? Anybody have any concern about adding that or not adding that? Okay, we will be voting on the amendment or on the article as amended once we approve that. So the amendment, all those in favor on the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the amendment carries. So to be official, we will vote on the article as amended. Everybody understand that? It's added one word. Questions? Yes, Jerry.
Still a comment on Article 10. In the real world, how would an officer know that this ordinance was being violated?
Well, the same way we would any offense. You know, one question that was posed at one of the vetting hearings, you know, one of the hearings we had on the ordinances, was, well, geez, if you're not there, how do you know? Well, we're not there for a lot of crimes. We investigate. We talk to witnesses. They describe what the noise was. Maybe we talk to the people who might be involved, and they might say, yeah, I was banging a bass drum and screaming at the top of my lungs. Or they might say, we don't want to talk to you. So we investigate things. If it's a reoccurring problem, and I will tell you, probably comes as no surprise, in the age of smartphones, we will often go to a call and they say, they were being really loud and noisy, and here's a recording of it. And they might show you footage, and you might hear it. So a variety of ways that we collect evidence. None of it's super tricky. We don't really have any super tricks. Wish we did. So that's how. We don't have to experience everything to enforce it.
All right, is there any other questions on the ordinance as amended? Comments?
My name is Emily Benson. I was just curious if this is then in reference to, I think it's the different wedding venues we have in town, if this was brought forward because of, you know, some of the loud...
Well, the wedding's end at 10:30. We've got a pretty good handle on that.
Yeah, and we actually amended this during that discussion phase because the wedding venues, which are primarily the Wentworth and Whitney's Inn, they have a liquor license kind of not agreement, but a component to their liquor license is that they have to stop at 10:30. And the original draft of this, and it was arbitrary again for a starting place, was 10 to 6. And then that was brought up by the Wentworth. They're like, well, our liquor license provision is 10:30. There's a conflict there. Like, okay, well, we'll change this to 10:30 so it's consistent. I would not say the bulk of the complaints are really from the wedding parties because they do a pretty good job of regulating them because their liquor license kind of hangs in the balance. The majority of the noise complaints are, you know, itinerant revel browsers, or revelers, I'll use that term. And a lot of times, amplified music is a big, concern, and the topography of the community, it's a big bowl, so you hear everything from far away. So I would say no, not the weddings.
Okay, any other comments, questions from anyone that hasn't spoken? Okay, if not, all those in favor of Article 10 as amended, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
The article carries. Article 11, camping ordinance. To see if the town will vote to adopt an ordinance to prohibit camping in any municipal park, parking lot, public street, or town green space without the prior written permission of the Board of Selectmen. A full text of the ordinance is available at the town clerk's office, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 300.
So moved.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any question, comment, discussion? If not,
Pete Strauss Bowers.
Okay. Can you stand up for me too, just to...
I just wonder, is everything presumed to be allowed unless there's an ordinance against it?
Did everybody just... You want to comment on that? That's kind of a wide open question.
It's very funny because we talk about the European model and the American model. And the European model is everything's prohibited unless permitted, and the American model is everything's permitted unless prohibited. So, yeah, it tends to be, the reason for this particular ordinance was because we have no prohibition against itinerant camping in the town. We have, and particularly this last summer, we had a number of campers camping on public property simply because it's not prohibited. There's a pretty popular trend called boondocking. I'm not an anti-boondocker guy. My brother-in-law is doing it with his wife all over the American Southwest. But people find places where there's no regulation and they will park for 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, or they'll park all summer. And we had that situation. We had a motorhome up at the old turnaround dump on Maloon Drive. We had a camper in the municipal parking lot for a period of time down here by the library. And that those probably had no regulations for that. So what I did want to do in crafting this ordinance was I wanted to make sure it was in no way confused with criminalizing homelessness. Most of your anti-camping statutes that get challenged are because they courts are ruling that the cities and communities are criminalizing homelessness. This statute does not do that because you can get permission to camp from the selectmen or their designees. For instance, this would be an example. A family is driving through, they park, they have lunch, their motorhome breaks down, the police roll by, hey, it's 8 o'clock at night, you can't camp here. Our motorhome broke down, we're penniless, we've called my friend, he's coming from wherever, he's gonna come help us. Oh, great, no problem. The designee gives them a permit to camp for that period of time, for that one night. That way, if another officer checks, they're like, yeah, the other officer gave us permission, or the selectman did, they went to the town. Great, no problem. If you need anything, let us know. That avoids criminalizing homelessness or the downtrodden, but it also makes sure that they don't turn the public spaces in Jackson into the free Glen Ellis campground, which people will do, and they did do last summer. That's why we have this, because they were turning the Jackson spaces into free camping.
Okay, is there any other comments for someone that had questions else?
Okay, I do have a question. Holly Chase, I have a question for you, or Director to you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So does that mean that like if someone was driving through with a van, but it didn't happen to break down, and an officer was to approach them, they could get a permit for that purpose? Like if they didn't pre-plan going into the town office to get a permit from a selectman?
They can always ask for a permit.
So, but even if they were approached by an officer first? Like if they didn't plan ahead?
If they're passing through, they probably don't even realize that there's an ordinance or not.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a disastrous circumstance.
Right, that's it.
But I think what we're trying to prevent is long-term, really, inappropriate camping because of health and safety and sanitary, and you don't want to turn the parking spots that you made for people to come park and utilize the community into ad hoc campgrounds. But yeah, that exactly what happened.
I see. Cool. Thank you.
Is there any other questions on the camping Article 11? Comments? Okay, if not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So voted. Okay, just make a comment, and if people take up my thing, just try to be quiet and orderly, but the Friends of the Whitney Center behind us there has some pretty good looking things that they would be happy to have people take, so I know it's getting cold, but anybody that would like to go down there, one of the times that go for it. Well, I'm trying to, because I'm standing up here saying, wow. Sorry. Okay, moving on. Article 12. Fireworks ordinance. To see if the town will vote to adopt an ordinance to regulate fireworks within the town of Jackson. This ordinance prohibits the discharge of fireworks without a license. This ordinance exempts novelty items commonly referred to as party poppers, snaps, snakes, sparklers, and morning glories. A full text of the ordinance is available at the town clerk's office, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 201. So, there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions?
Will Reisig, who would be issuing the license to utilize these fireworks?
I believe that it would be involved with the fire department and maybe the inspector that works with the fire department at certain times. Chief, you would be the one that would be...
Permit is signed by fire chief, selectman, and police chief.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So you got...
That's the professional level permit and license that like people apply for who are licensed firework displayers, like for a 4th of July.
Understood, thank you.
Okay. Any Any other questions, comments? Peter Benson?
Peter Benson. First, I'd like to know which selectmen abstained and why. And then secondly...
That was me. I couldn't vote against myself. I will go further.
I just... fireworks.
I like fireworks.
Okay.
I like fireworks. I'll admit to it. I think if you proposed a noise ordinance that is passed, that is reasonable. It seems to me that this doesn't seem like the greatest plan. If you can't regulate, there's no regulation against firearm discharge at any time. Right. And so I don't see how you regulate fireworks and be able to discern between the two. I think a homeowner that likes to enjoy the 4th of July with his family and friends should be able to light some fireworks between the hours of 6 and 10:30. We're a welcoming community. I think there should be, we talked about a homeowner exemption at some point. Never really made it into this ordinance. I just think this is a little bit overly restrictive.
You want to comment on that too?
Yes. Let me just clarify why there's a difference between fireworks and firearms. Because they are defined by statute. There's no confusion about the difference between shooting off a gun and setting off a firework as it applies to this particular ordinance. Furthermore, there are statutes that regulate indiscriminately firing guns, and it's called reckless conduct with a deadly weapon. So it's not like one's completely unregulated and this is being overly pernicious to regulate fireworks. The reason that the fireworks ordinance was drafted is because we get regular complaints about fireworks. The difference between the fireworks ordinance and the noise ordinance is this. The fireworks ordinance allows us to seize the fireworks that are unused when we respond to a complaint. The noise ordinance does not. So what can happen is the fireworks complaint continues until the fireworks are burnt up or we haul them away or give them more tickets. So that's one significant difference. And fireworks, I guess some fireworks could not create loud and reasonable noise, but could create risk and danger. Fireworks are dangerous. I know they're fun. People like them, and that's why we spend $3,000 in the middle of the summer so that everybody can enjoy them. Dogs that run off and are lost, the most common time for them to do it is the 4th of July because fireworks scare them. Fireworks can increase occurrences of PTSD in veterans. Fireworks they're just dangerous, and they're more dangerous in compact areas, and that's the only reason for the suggestion of ordinance, is because we get complaints, and it's a safety issue. The reason that we did not, incorporate the resident versus non-resident suggestion was because it would set up the community as well as the police department for challenges on selective enforcement, or even if it was people of color, it could be challenges of discrimination, because there's really no substantive difference between the conduct depending on your zip code or where you live. So that's why it wasn't included, because it would make enforcement significantly more complicated and could lend exposure to the community department for challenges for those reasons. That's right.
Jerry Dockery. Could I ask the fire chief how many times they've responded to fires due to indiscriminate use of fireworks?
I don't recall, we haven't had any issues with fires from fireworks.
He's saying the fire department has not had any issues responding for fireworks calls. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, that answer you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Bob, what's the difference between getting a license and getting a permit?
The only people who can get a license to display fireworks are professional fireworks people, pyrotechnic experts. What the reason for that language, and this is statutory language taken from the state fire office recommendation on fireworks regulation, is that you want to differentiate between consumer-grade fireworks, which is a definition, a classification of fireworks, and then retail, the permissible fireworks that are, people are licensed to use. Like, for people who are pyrotechnic experts. So that it's not like you can get a license to go get 100 firecrackers and set them off. What it's saying is this ordinance won't apply to the person who gets the license to display publicly the fireworks. Or somebody else, I don't know, maybe there's another event, New Year's Eve, first night, whatever. But they would have to be a licensed pyrotechnics person.
And just one other quick question. If this ordinance fails or passes, does the noise ordinance govern that say the ordinance fails, would the noise ordinance prevent people from setting off fireworks after 10:30 at night?
Excuse me.
Because I don't see that as
Interrupt
an
you, Bob.
example.
Brian, there's somebody at the door, and that the automatic lock must be. Can you check that for us, please?
Because when you read this larger text, it doesn't reference fireworks being a violation of the noise ordinance.
To answer your question, Bob, fireworks complaints are often noise complaints.
Right.
So if somebody calls and complains about fireworks at 11 o'clock at night, it's probably a fireworks complaint and a noise complaint. So yes, we can respond to it under the noise ordinance statute. Now here's the substantive difference. If you call about a noise complaint, the ski lodge is tossing off fireworks, M80s, what have you, at 12 o'clock at night. And you call and we have the noise ordinance. I need a statement from you. We have to evaluate the circumstance. What did they discharge? What did other neighbors say? We do an investigation. Maybe they give up the goods and tell us they did it, maybe they don't. We do an investigation. You're a witness, you're a party to it, and we enforce it or not. Fireworks is a static enforcement. The violation is just simply using the fireworks. So I don't need your statement per se. I find the remnants of the fireworks. I collect the fireworks and I can seize the unused, which helps to prevent the additional thing. With a noise complaint, I don't have the authority to seize unused fireworks any more than if they had, anything else, that was, to use it was unlawful, but to possess it was not. So that's the substantive difference. That's really why I had both of them in there.
Okay, any other questions on this one? If not, all those in favor of Article 12 fireworks ordinance signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay. That's a little bit close on my end. So here's what we're doing. The line directly from me to between Kevin and Fred, from the supervisors, this is the left-hand side of the room. My left-hand side, this is the right-hand side. Left hand, opposed, all those in favor, on the left side of the room as I described, please signify by raising your hand with your tags. Okay? All those on my right, please raise your hand with your tags as in favor of. All right, go ahead. Left-hand side, opposed, raise your hand. The right-hand side, opposed. Okay. The article's defeated. Thank you. Okay, Article 13. Got 3 or 4 to go. Use of tobacco products prohibited ordinance. To see if the town will vote to adopt an ordinance to prohibit the use of tobacco on town property, including buildings, structures, properties, parks, municipal parking lots, or town green spaces. Tobacco includes e-cigarettes, which are electronic smoking devices. This ordinance shall not apply to the town-owned property known as Prospect Farms. A full text of the ordinance is available at the town clerk's office, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 300.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Can you just speak up a little bit more,
And
just not please?
why is Prospect Farm exempted?
That was a pretty easy one, but again, I'll defer to the chief.
When we drafted the suite of ordinances, one ordinance was for Prospect, the regulation of behavior in Prospect Farms, because we got some complaints, only to find that there were rules for Prospect Farm, but there was no ordinance. So we converted the rules to a proposed ordinance. Then, later through discussion, it was determined that the primary governor or governors of Prospect Farm is the Conservation Commission, not the Board of Selectmen. So the Prospect Farm ordinance was withdrawn because the Conservation Commission was going to really take a hard look at the rules about Prospect Farm. There's some question about public versus private and so on and so forth. So when this ordinance was drafted, the tobacco use, there was language about public spaces, and there was a question about, and it was posed exactly like this. It said, well, what if somebody is smoking a pipe, hunting in Prospect Farms? Are you going to give it to them? And that was a good question. And because the regulation of Prospect Farm has really been divested from the Selectmen to the Conservation Commission, we thought that any regulation that mentions the public property, Prospect Farm should be taken out of, because that's going to be the Conservation Commission's province. So that's why.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none? All those in favor of Article 13, use of tobacco products, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The article carries. Article 14, use of skateboards and scooters ordinance. To see if the town will vote to adopt an ordinance to regulate the use of skateboards and scooters to provide for the safe and efficient use of public travel within the town of Jackson. This ordinance creates rules for the use of skateboards and scooters on public ways only. A full text of the ordinance is available at the town clerk's office. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 300.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any question, discussion, comment? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Fred Pittenger, does this include electric scooters or motorized scooters?
Can you describe what you're asking? Like, what type of vehicle are you asking?
Motorized scooters.
Right, but do you mean like a personal mobility assist, or do you mean like a two-wheel and it's got an electric motor?
Two-wheel and it's got an electric motor, like is becoming very common now in...
Yes, this does include it in the definition, and you know, it's tough to make ordinances or rules around technology. So this tried to incorporate all technologies that are currently used, and the scooter and skateboard, and I know this is so weird to describe a skateboard with an engine, but we've seen several of them. But skateboard and scooter, pretty much the same definition. A skateboard is every device propelled by human power or gravity or electric motor or internal combustion engine of 49 cc's or less, or any combination thereof, upon which a person or persons may ride, having two or more wheels, and is not otherwise defined. See, there's definitions for things like electric mobility device, Segway, bicycle, so that's why we put that in there. And a scooter is almost the same, only a scooter, the addition was, also contains a handle or handlebar customarily used during operation. So yes, it does include that.
Thank you.
Who was first over here, but I got 40.
Hi, Holly Chase. I just have a question for you all that why specifically are skateboards and scooters identified in this ordinance and not bikes like a cyclist would be on? It feels like it's specifically targeting maybe a specific skateboard or scooter incident when honestly probably cyclists are just as prevalent on the road. And everyone tries to kind of abide by rule laws, so.
I can make that simple. I believe you just covered that. Go ahead, Chief.
Well, that's a great question, and I'll tell you exactly why. There is a state statute in the motor vehicle code that covers the riding and maneuvering of a bicycle on roadways. This ordinance is almost an exact copy, only we overlaid scooter and skateboard, so that the rules of the road were no more restrictive nor less restrictive. In some places, they are a little less restrictive because of the way you may ride a skateboard. So to answer your question, bicycles are regulated by the statute that controls the movement of a bicycle, and there is no statute that controls the regulation of a skateboard. So this ordinance adopts those standards with some exceptions for like hand control, because you might not be able to make a signal because you got to do something to stop the thing.
So it's not in response to any particular skateboarding or scooter incident that's happened?
Oh, well, they were all in response to complaints. Yes, they were all in response to complaints. And as I explained in a couple of public hearings, communities that don't have any regulation on skateboards and receive complaints will often default to a strict prohibition at some point. Because they're like, we're sick of the skateboards, we're sick of the scooters, and then they bar them. This allows regulations to be put in place so the populace can be comfortable knowing the town's not going to run amok with, wild skateboarders. And it also allows the skateboarders to say, hey, I have rules, I have rights, I can be on the road. People who call the cops and say, oh, they're on Black Mountain Road. It's like, well, they're allowed to, as long as they're not, doing some things they're not supposed to do, just like a bicycle or like a car. Does that answer your question?
I know there were several hands up over there. Go ahead.
Rose Brady. Can you give me an example of public ways only and also non-public?
Sure. Public ways are defined by statute RSA 259-125, paragraph 1, which specifically apply to the definition of public ways. You like that, didn't you? Businesses that are open for the benefit of paying customers. So any roadway. What wouldn't be a way would be anything that doesn't fall into the definition of way. So your driveway wouldn't be a way. I don't know, a field that you can skateboard on with one of those four-wheel drive skateboards.
Sidewalk? Or sidewalk?
A sidewalk is defined as a sidewalk. So,
It would not be a public way.
so it would not be a public way for vehicles.
Right, I'm saying skateboarders would not be on a sidewalk there.
I think that's covered in the, statute.
Okay, I know, yes, go ahead.
Chief, I'm just kind of curious because, through my life, a scooter's always been something larger than a moped. That's why
Right.
So that's why a moped's been less than 50 cc's.
Right, you're thinking of
yeah. So
metropolitan.
But a moped would be a scooter according to this.
No, because a moped is otherwise defined by statute as a moped. It has a specific designation.
And so we're, I guess
because that's a pedal assist vehicle.
Okay. And so the cross-country land training people, those are skateboarders now?
No,
I'm not being, they fall into this thing.
Trying to keep it quick. All right. Any other questions on this? I know there was another hand up somewhere here, and now I'm going to go over here and look as well. I know there was like 6 on that side. Yes, Peter Benson.
Peter Benson, I think the intention is good, but this is confusing. Wheeled conveyances change all the time. And just to say skateboards and scooters is somewhat confusing. I think a lot of this came about because the state finally paved some of our roads in the last year or two, and the asphalt was smooth, so we saw a lot more increased use by skateboarders, scooters. In my barn, I have a ripstick, I have roller skis, there's been a mono board at times. I think it gets really tricky defining the terms as to what's going to be regulated and what isn't going to be regulated. And I don't know, it's a skateboard, man. So what? I mean, I don't want to pick on the skateboarders, I was one once. So I think, live and let live free and die. If you're going down the hill, you might die. So that's their chance.
I just want to clarify, there won't be any confusion about what the conveyance is, and I know technology changes. That's why we specifically identified what the conveyances would be, so the user would know, and so the officer would know, the courts would know if they need to know. So it's not a blurry, generic, today that's a skateboard and tomorrow it's not. It's defined by statute like vehicles should be. And this isn't about hunting down skateboarders. It's about public safety. We get regular complaints about skateboarders who are on the wrong side of the road, who travel in past vehicles and so on and so forth. I don't want their rights, their privileges to be on the road to be totally eliminated, but also I want everybody to be safe on the road. That's all.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I think there was another hand up here. Peter? No? Seeing none? Okay. All those in favor of Article 14, use of skateboards and scooters ordinance, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
No.
I would say the article is defeated on that. That's my call. All right, moving on. Page 32. Okay, Article 15. Okay, Article 15, resolution on climate pollution petition. This is a petitioned article, so we will not be able to amend this article if anybody was thinking about that. Just to be aware. To see if the town will vote to adopt the following resolution. We, the town of Jackson, hereby call upon our state and federal elected representatives to enact carbon pricing legislation to protect New Hampshire from the costs and environmental risks of continued climate inaction. To protect households, we support a carbon-free and dividend approach, approach that charges fossil fuel producers for their carbon pollution and rebates the money collected to all residents on an equal basis. Enacting a carbon cashback program decreases long-term fossil fuel dependence, aids in the economic transition for energy consumers, and keeps local energy dollars in New Hampshire's economy. Carbon cashback has been championed by U.S. economists, January 17, 2019, WSJ, as the most effective and fair way to deliver rapid reductions in harmful carbon emissions at the scale required for our safety. We expect our representatives to lead in this critical moment for the health and well-being of our citizens and for the protection of New Hampshire's natural resources upon which we all rely. The record of the vote approving this article shall be transmitted by written notice to Jackson's state legislators, to the Governor of New Hampshire, to Jackson's congressional delegation, and to the President of the United States, informing them of the instructions from their constituents by Jackson's Select Board within 30 days of this vote. Everybody can digest that okay?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, questions, comments? And, okay, go ahead, Sarah. Yep, Sarah, comments?
This was discussed at a selectmen's meeting, and there were a few of us that were there that thought that this was political rather than something about running our town, and I'd just like to voice that.
Okay, thank you. Again, it's a petitioned article, so it's in there for that reason. I know there is someone in the audience that can speak to answer questions, so I will again ask, is there any questions, comments for anybody that has a specific, I know you had a hand up, so go ahead.
Dawson Lynch. I think we all agree that carbon needs to be reduced in fossil fuels, but what are the alternatives? So what's the definition for fossil fuel producer? We all produce greenhouse gas emissions every time we get in our cars. So just a little clarification about what's a fossil fuel producer, and are we petitioning the government to do something? What are the alternatives to that?
Okay, at this point, I'm going to recognize Bruce McLean. He's representing, and I think as an individual, Bruce, you have someone with you that's, you don't, okay.
Bruce McLean, I would like to just read a brief statement, just so I don't just fumble through it.
Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Sure. Article 15 gives Jackson voters a chance to ask that our state and federal legislators to act now to protect the world from the negative effects of climate change. When carbon pollution is free, there's too much of it. For too long, fossil fuel producers, that would be mainly oil companies, coal companies, and so forth, have been allowed to dump carbon pollution into our air without paying for any of the damage that it causes. Cashback carbon pricing, also known as fee and dividend, puts a price on pollution and incentivizes conservation and innovation to replace fossil fuels with clean energy solutions. It does this by imposing a fee on fossil fuel producers. All the money collected after administrative costs is placed in a dedicated trust fund and rebated monthly to all New Hampshire residents on an equal basis. 2/3 of all households will break even or get more than their equal share of the money collected than they pay in higher costs due to the fee. If eventually a federal bill replaces this state bill, it will use border adjustments to push our carbon price around the world. Economists worldwide agree that this approach is the most cost-effective and fair way to keep carbon in the ground. It is revenue neutral. It is a revenue neutral method that uses the free market, not the government, to create innovative solutions for cleaner, renewable, and cheaper energy sources. Cashback carbon pricing is a bipartisan solution. It's effective at reducing climate pollution, protects family budgets, creates jobs, and has a global reach. Many other countries already use the fee and dividend approach. Canada adopted it last year, and China is ready to start it this year. Finally, this warrant does not commit Jackson or New Hampshire to any specific legislation, but simply asks that our state representatives to address the issue and to use a carbon cashback solution to do it. And as of today, 38 New Hampshire town meetings were considering this. The towns that met Monday and Tuesday night, about 12 passed it so far, and 2 did not, and the rest of them will be doing it tonight and tomorrow night.
Thank you, Bruce. That's a lot to digest, I'm sure. So,
Bruce, can I get a copy of that when you're done, what you read?
because that's hard to record. Thank you. Is there any questions? I don't know whether that answered your question, but I've got to caution. We could probably have a lot of questions that could be very hard to answer. So, yeah, she has the floor first. Go ahead.
It did. It answered it and expanded on it, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, yes.
Ollie Chase. Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I think that it is important for us as a town to stand up and make a statement on this, because obviously it's something that affects us and our economy here in Jackson and will continue to affect future generations. So we're asking the state to consider it more, and it would be awesome if Jackson had a positive voice in that.
Does anybody else have any comment or question? Sarah?
I can see you're happy. I would just like to say, I didn't catch your name when you spoke, but again, we're talking about carbon footprint, and we're talking about, I'm sure, the big industries that do it. But we have a carbon impact right here in Jackson. We provide school transportation to all our students through a bus, so on, for our kids to go to and from school. And I have asked the school for how many students of ours actually ride the bus. But I know at Kennet High School there are over 200 and some odd parking spots for students to park their vehicles that they take to and from school every day, plus parking at shops. And again, I just think this is a political statement.
Is there anyone else that hasn't spoken at this point? Yes, before I Go ahead.
No, I just want to clarify that what I was trying to say, and probably did not say very eloquently, was I don't think this goes far enough. I think it's great. I want more.
Okay, all right, we got that, I think. Thank you. I had a hand up first. Go ahead.
I passed.
Okay.
Is it true that this is just...
Can you speak up, please?
It's just advisory, it's not a binding service, it's just, we're just presenting this, that we would like our, legislators and congresspeople to pursue.
Right, that's exactly correct. And again, it's either going to get voted up or get voted down, being that it was a legal petition accepted by the selectmen to put in the warrant. So, again, I could spend all night trying to get really educated on this, and we're not going to. But if there's anybody else that wants to speak to a question or a comment that has not spoken, or a different comment, I will take another couple. Other than that, I'm going to call for it. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Article 15, resolution on climate pollution and its petition. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The article is passed. Thank you. Okay. Article 16. And there can be no money article, no money raised or taken away in this article. It's strictly for any other business that has nothing to do with the financial aspect of it. Any other business to act upon any other business which may legally come before this meeting. Is there anything that, Dick Bennett?
I just want to thank Julie White and Giuliano for putting this report together. It has a lot of information and it really helps all of us understand the nuances of what is being asked for. So, thank you.
Yes. Does anybody else have anything? Okay, Emily Benson?
Emily Benson? I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, if you haven't seen it already, we have a new service in town, sponsored by the library, called the Jackson Bridge. It's a community helpers email listserv. And if you all would like more information, it's something that you can sign up for. If it comes to a scenario where you might have to self-quarantine, you could put a little email out and have maybe some help in getting food delivered, or any kind of request. So there's more information on the Jackson Library website, but I just encourage folks to take a look at that, and it's a great way to think about helping our neighbors in these interesting times.
Thank you, that's great. Are there any other comments? Not yet.
Not yet.
It's not 9 o'clock yet, so we're doing really well.
My name is Tish Hanley, and I would just like to express some gratitude for all the people who give up their time in this town in the various ways. Police, fire, select people. We have a lot of people who work hard, and I appreciate it, and I think all of us do. I also like to always say I appreciate Sarah because she goes to the meetings. For anyone who attends the meetings and takes part in the discussions and keeps an eye on things, I appreciate that. And as a member of the Friends of the Whitney, I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to say, be safe, and we've put out some, since we're going to be practicing social distancing likely in the near future. We are tonight, kind of. There's plenty of desserts here to take home with you, but let's keep an eye on each other.
Thank you. I just wanted to say one comment, and I wanted to thank everyone. We had a really good election on Tuesday, which was the first half of town meeting officially. It went well. Tonight, I was expecting us to be here quite a lot longer, and it went very well. I want to thank everybody for holding a very orderly meeting, being really great, the good information, and Sarah, yes, you're okay to ask any question you want, up to a point. No, I agree, she does. We need, this is the time for you to speak. And it's been a tradition for a lot of years. And I just think it's something that we hope we can keep going. And I want to thank everyone. I want to take a comment that was given to me by Jerry Doherty on Tuesday that it kind of appears that our town, albeit growing, and everybody, the taxes are taxes, but you know, this town runs, to Jerry's credit, talking to me about it, runs very smoothly overall. And for the most part, all our residents, young and old, in every other classification, I think everyone is happy, and it's a very small group of not only elected officials, but the volunteers that help. Like, example, last Tuesday. Without the volunteer help that everyone puts in some way of helping make this town run better and be smooth and a great place to be, I thank everyone here and everyone that isn't here. And with that, thank you for a good meeting, and I would entertain a motion to be moved to adjourn. I won't accept that motion.
I motion to dissolve the town meeting.
Yes, thank you very much. Second, hold on, I need a second. Second. All those in favor?